They say you never really know peace until it's taken from you, and I can tell you that's true. Because for 15 years, peace for me was a fishing rod, a quiet dock, and a mug of coffee just before sunrise. That lake wasn't just water, it was my grandfather's legacy, my sanctuary, and honestly, the one place in the world where I could just be. But the morning I found a 6-foot chain-link fence where my dock used to be, and a smug woman with a clipboard and a pitcher of cucumber water standing across the gravel path, everything changed. Her name was Cheryl Landers. Newly divorced, newly elected HOA president, and apparently newly ordained with the power of Moses himself, judging by how she waved those HOA bylaws like commandments. She said I was trespassing on my own land, said the dock was now community property under HOA jurisdiction, and if I had a problem with that, I could file an appeal with the board she ran. Now, I didn't yell. I didn't even argue. I just turned around, walked back to the cabin, and pulled out the one key she didn't know existed, a small steel tag labeled Spillway Valve 2, handed down through 3 generations. My grandfather didn't believe in fighting with words, she believed in flow control. You see, that lake existed because of the dam on my land, a dam he built with his own hands before most of those HOA homes even existed. And Cheryl? She had just declared war on the guy holding the valve. I could have drained it that day. One turn of that wheel, and her lake party dreams would have ended with muddy footprints and sunbaked silt. But I didn't, because I wanted to understand her game first. And oh, what a game it was. She started calling the lake Landers Cove on the neighborhood app, complete with mock-ups of a floating concert stage and paddleboard rentals. She had glossy flyers printed and lawn signs made. She held meetings on the dock serving wine and brie to board members, while tiki torches flickered behind her like she was hosting some lakeside revolution. Contractors showed up on my side of the lake. One guy even spray-painted a construction line across my gravel path. Said he was working under HOA orders. Didn't even apologize. That's when I called my cousin, Natalie Sharp, as a TAC, real estate lawyer, loves property law more than she loves red wine. When I told her what Cheryl was pulling, she didn't laugh, she cackled. Said, don't just fight back. Make her wish she'd never heard your name. So we got to work. We pulled records, water rights deeds, conservation permits, zoning history, everything. Sent a certified letter to the HOA and the county detailing the dam's private ownership and the legal definition of riparian boundaries. We didn't threaten. We didn't need to. Then I started the slow boil. I reduced outflow from the dam just a fraction. Not enough for most folks to notice at first. But I watched every hour as the shoreline crept away from Cheryl's tiki torches, as the dock started to float just a little more awkwardly, as the paddleboards had to be dragged further out. By the 3rd day, her lakefront paradise was ankle-deep in algae and silt. At the HOA breakfast she hosted that Sunday, complete with lukewarm croissants and orange juice that tasted like regret, someone asked why the lake looked so low. Cheryl said it was seasonal evaporation, which was bold, considering it had rained for 4 straight days. I didn't go to the breakfast. I watched from my porch with binoculars and a glass of bourbon, Natalie sitting beside me, grinning like a cat in a canary factory. Then she tried to refill the lake. I'm not kidding. She hired a handyman to run hoses from 3 public fire hydrants straight into the lake. Not only was that illegal, it was dangerous. The city shut it down in hours, slapped her with a $5,000 fine, and flagged the HOA for a zoning audit. Cheryl tried to spin it, claimed sabotage, said someone was artificially draining the lake to destroy her vision of community unity. I wanted to send her a t-shirt that read, I paved paradise and all I got was this muddy lawn chair. But I didn't need to rub it in, because the lake did it for me. By week 2, the water had dropped nearly 3 feet. Her floating stage collapsed into a pile of plywood and embarrassment. A local dad slipped on the lakebed during the so-called summer bash and threatened to sue. The inflatable flamingos deflated. The wine was warm. The music stopped. But the best part? A quiet little comment on the neighborhood forum, posted by Miss Evelina, retired schoolteacher and HOA member for 20 years. She wrote, maybe the real problem isn't the lake. Maybe it's Cheryl. 72 likes. I sent her a smoked trout and a bottle of my best homemade pickles. But Cheryl wasn't done. She filed for an emergency HOA vote to seize partial control of the lake under something she called community water equity. Natalie nearly choked on her coffee when she read the filing. We responded with a preemptive injunction, notarized affidavits, historical plat maps, and a signed letter from the civil engineer who built the dam in 1973. Then came the twist. During a boundary reassessment audit, a survey team discovered an old annexation clause tucked into the HOA's founding paperwork that stated if lake levels changed due to privately held infrastructure, any HOA-built structures that fell below the new shoreline would legally revert to the dam owner. In plain English, since the lake receded, Cheryl had accidentally handed me legal control of nearly 40% of the shoreline, including the access road to their communal boat ramp. I didn't gloat. I just sent the HOA a new map, marked the boundary, included a friendly letter offering limited use permits for a quarterly fee. Craig, the new interim president, called me personally and thanked me for being unreasonably reasonable. Turns out Cheryl had been planning a floating cafe on the lake and wanted to charge residents for chair rentals. Meanwhile, I was getting pie deliveries, smoked brisket, homemade beer, and one anonymous gift basket labeled, "Thanks for saving us from HOA hell." But Cheryl? She didn't go quietly. Oh no. She hired a lawyer and estate planner from 3 towns over with a 2.7 Yelp rating. He filed a motion claiming the lake was a communal resource governed by equitable access law. The judge dismissed it in under 10 minutes. In a final act of defiance, Cheryl launched something called the Shoreline Patrol. 2 teenagers with clipboards and matching hats, tasked with enforcing visual uniformity standards. One of them knocked on my nephew's door and told him his kayak was in violation. My nephew, bless him, recorded the whole thing and posted it online with the title, "Lake Karen hires rent-a-kids to guard puddles." It went viral. The HOA board held an emergency vote and removed Cheryl 5-0. She tried to resign in protest, claimed she was the victim of lake-based oligarchy. Nobody even looked up from their phones. A week later, her mailbox had a zoning citation to remove all illegal structures. Then came a lawsuit from residents who paid dues for events she never delivered. Finally, the financial audit dropped. $14,700 missing, spent on branded yoga mats and a patio set she claimed was for lakefront mindfulness. She sold her house quietly and moved 2 counties over. Word is she's running a Facebook group now about toxic masculinity and shoreline management. I walk down to my dock every morning now, coffee in hand, fishing rod over my shoulder. The fence is gone. The lake is calm. The dam still stands quiet, steady, and mine. And right at the edge of the dock, there's a small wooden sign I carved myself. Walnut finish. Just 5 simple words. Lake access. Be respectful always. Below that, in smaller print, property of the dam owner. Nobody questions it. Nobody needs to. The water speaks for itself. Now I want to hear from you. What would you have done if someone tried to fence off your legacy? Was I too harsh? Too soft? Do HOAs really protect communities? Or are they just power trips with paperwork? Let me know in the comments. And if you ever find yourself facing a clipboard-wielding neighbor who thinks bylaws are stronger than history, just remember, the one who controls the flow controls the fight.